Well, good evening, everyone. It's been a long time that we met actually. Even I haven't posted anything from few weeks in my channel. Okay. So, yeah, after a long gap, I came here with a new topic. Okay. Tskew. And this topic is helpful for the people who are working on STA and as well as the people who are working on physical design also. Okay, so I'm not covering any specific tool here. Okay, I'm just covering the theory part with some numerical formulas wherever it is required. Okay, and yeah, let us go through the clock skew. Right, so I have given a small subtitle here. In timing, skew is not always bad, sometimes it's brilliant. So by the end of this video, I'll justify how it is good and how it is brilliant and how it is not bad. So if it is not carefully handled, it is bad. Okay, but how to handle, I'll tell you. Right, without any delay, let's go to the topic. Okay, what is the skew? What is the basic definition of skew? See, we do let us go through this picture. We do have different flops in my design. Okay, so there are let us suppose there is a flop called A and there is a flap called B, and for the both flops we are getting the signal from the same PLL, I mean the same clock score. So now, whenever you are getting the signal from the same clock source, yes, there will be some time difference between these two clock arrivals for sure. Okay, if I say see in some scenario, one flop will be, I mean, more farther than the other flop. Okay, some flop may be nearer to the clock source, some flop may be far to the clock source. It will be impractical to say the clock will go to the both flaps at the same time. Okay, most of the times, and the clock skew will exist. Okay, so zero skew is completely impractical. You don't get zero skew. Fine. So what is the definition of skew? Skew is the time difference between the capture flag and the launch flag. Okay, numerically it is Tlaunch minus Tcapture. Okay, so yeah, this is the difference between the arrival times of clock between launch and capture. Okay, so what is the effect? It affects both setup and hold times. Okay, how it affects and actually how it helps to the both setup and hold we will see today. Now, before going to that, let me go through what is a positive skew and what is negative skew. Okay, now let us suppose, now let us consider we do have two scenarios. Okay, where where the launch clock, where the launch clock is getting early clock and the capture clock is getting late clock. Okay, such scenario we call it as positive skew. Okay, capture clock comes after launch clock. What does it mean? The capture clock is getting the clock late and the launch clock is getting the clock early. So that means T launch is greater than T capture. So it will help us in fixing the setup violations. Okay, so now if the clock has positive skew, which which scenario will get benefited? In the setup scenario we will get benefited. Now let us suppose, what if it is negative? What if we have negative skew? So if capture clock actually comes early, I mean, to the capture flop, the clock is coming early. To the launch clock, it is coming late. Okay, so in that case, it hurts the setup, but it helps the hold. That means in this case, T launch is greater than T capture. Okay, so that is very good for hold scenario, though it has significant effect on setup and hold. See, positive skew helps the setup, but it hurts the hold. In the similar way, negative skew helps the hold, but it hurts the setup. Okay, but when you take them, I mean, when you handled it properly, it will be helpful for us. Now, what happens? What is the kind of modification that these equations will get with the skew? Okay, so now with the skew, now let us suppose the data arrival time is greater than, I'm sorry, it is less, right? The data arrival time is less than the data required time. You know, AT is arrival time and RT is the required time, right? So how the setup equation will become? I told you already in the setup equation, what happens? Tlaunch is less than Tcapture. Okay. So the time period of launch clock plus the flop clock plus the combinational delay is less than the capture clock minus setup time plus skew. See, it is getting added to the right side. Okay. When it comes to hold, it again, see how the hold equation is getting modified. Here arrival time is greater than required time. You know, hold is arrival time minus required time. So it is getting added to the capture side so that it is getting balanced. Okay. So like that. See, if I have positive clock, if I have positive clock, it will get added up at the right side and helps the setup. Now, if I have negative skew, if I have negative skew, which actually helps the hold by decreasing the right side value. Okay, so that is what, in conclusion, I'd like to tell. Positive skew gives more time for setup. Okay, but negative skew reduces the early arrival risk in hold. See, because in the hold equation, skew is at right hand side, it will reduces that quantity. Okay, in the positive in the setup, it is in right hand side again, but if it is positive setup, it will increase the time so that the setup will get stabilized. Okay, I hope I'm clear. Now, how many types of skew we have? Okay, so we have zero skew, means the both clocks are arriving at the same time. Though it is ideal, I told you in the starting of the video itself, it is impractical. It will never happen like that. The local skew is in between the nearby laptops. I mean the near flaps. I'm sorry, my bad. Okay, so it is the difference in arrival time of the clock at two consecutive pins of flaps. Okay, it can either be positive or it can either be negative. Okay, it all depends on the circuit on which you're working. Okay, and then the global skew is the, I told you, in one case, let us suppose one flop is much more far from the clock source, the PLL, and of course some flop is a little nearer to the PLL. Then it will be like one will be the longest clock path and the second will be the shortest clock path. Okay, so yeah, that is the time difference between these two clock paths is called as global skew. Okay. Now, if you talk mathematically, we call it as L2 minus L1, where L2 is the longest path and L1 is the shortest path, right? Then max and min insertion delay, it is again on the global skew only. Okay. So yes, we call it as leaf cells. Leaf cell is nothing but the what we call the lowest cell in the design. Okay, the lowest sequential cell in the design. So how the clock will get propagated? Okay, the delay of clock signal to propagate to the farmost cell is called as max insertion delay. The delay of clock to the nearmost cell means nearest leaf cell, we call it as min insertion delay. Again, delay of clock signal to propagate to the farthest leaf cell is called as max insertion delay. The delay of the clock signal which takes to propagate to the nearest leaf cell is called as min insertion delay. Okay, then benefits of slow useful skew. Sometimes what we do whenever so what we do actually, if the timing is violated, if it is setup time or it is hold time, what we do, if it is setup time, uh, we increase the drive strength, and we do so many things. And if it is whole time, we insert buffers and all those things we do, the regular stuff we do. But if sometimes, okay, if the scenario is little typical, we skew the clock intentionally to resolve those violations. Okay, so what we will get if we skew the clock intentionally? Number one, the timing optimization. By adjusting the clock arrival times, we can meet the setup and hold time. Okay, what I'm telling, by adjusting the clock arrival times, we can meet the setup and hold times. And then load balancing, how it balances the load. See, let us suppose we do have some useful skew that can really help us uh, to balance the load across different parts of the circuit. Okay, so that will reduce the maximum current run. Okay, and also it will improve the power distribution across the different cells. Okay, so in load balancing, it will help us to cover different parts of circuit. Okay, reduces the maximum current run and also improves our power distribution. Next, CTS, how it is helpful during the CTS. So during the CTS, clock skew is helpful to minimize the clock tree depth. Okay, and also it reduces the clock distribution network complexity. Okay, what it does, two things it will does, it will minimizes the clock tree depth, and also it will reduces the clock distribution network complexity, and then reducing the critical path delays. So by skewing, the clock critical path delays can be minimized. Okay, so whenever you minimize the critical path delays, so automatically your overall circuit performance will get improved. Okay, so that is how the skew will work. So I told you, sometimes skew is not bad, sometimes skew is brilliant. So if you use carefully, if you handle it carefully, you can actually achieve all these things using clock skew, right? In summary, yes, we are discussed about clock skew. It is a very powerful tool and a hidden threat. Okay, sometimes you need to fix it. That is the other case. But when you use it carefully, you can actually manage the things well. Okay, it affects both setup and hold. Okay, it can be positive, it can be negative, and it can be zero. I told you the zero case, it is impractical. When it is used well, it is brilliant, right? Yeah, thank you. We'll meet with the next topic.